In the ancient city of Pravarpura, what we now know as modern-day Srinagar, India, there lived one of the greatest sages of India, Abhinavagupta. A philosopher, mystic, and master of Kashmir Shaivism, he spent his life unraveling the mysteries of consciousness, aesthetics, and the ultimate nature of reality. Pravarpura, founded by King Pravarsena II, was once a thriving center of knowledge and spirituality, where seekers from across Bharatvarsh came to engage in deep discussions on Shiva, Tantra, and the eternal self. Among these seekers was Mandar, a devoted disciple, eager to understand the mystery of thought and its connection to the brain and consciousness. One evening, as the golden sun dipped behind the Himalayan peaks, Mandar approached his guru with a burning question. Guruji, science and logic tell us that thoughts arise from the brain, chemical reactions and electric impulses. But in our scriptures, thought is described as something beyond the physical. Do thoughts exist outside the brain, or are they merely physical processes? Abhinavagupta smiled, sensing the depth of Mandar's inquiry. Instead of answering, he pointed towards a lotus pond nearby and said, "Come with me." As they reached the pond, Abhinavagupta threw a small pebble into the still water. The surface rippled, distorting the reflection of the moon above. "Tell me, Mandar, where is the real moon?" Mandar looked up at the sky, then at the water, and said, "Guruji, the real moon is above, but its reflection is in the pond." Abhinavagupta nodded. "Indeed. Now tell me, if the water is disturbed, does the real moon change?" Mandar shook his head. "No, Guruji, only the reflection is disturbed." Abhinavagupta smiled and said, "Just as the moon exists beyond the water, thoughts exist beyond the brain. The brain is only the reflecting surface, like this pond. When it is disturbed, the thoughts appear fragmented. But the true source of thought is beyond the body, beyond matter, it is pure consciousness itself." Mandar's eyes widened. "Are you saying that thought is not created by the brain, but only reflected through it?" "Yes," Abhinavagupta replied. "Just as a mirror does not create the objects it reflects, the brain does not create consciousness, it merely channels it." To deepen the lesson, Abhinavagupta took Mandar to a nearby cave where a hermit was playing a flute. The melody floated through the air, filling the space with divine sweetness. "Mandar, where does the music come from?" Mandar pointed at the flute. "From the flute, Guruji." Abhinavagupta took the flute and covered its holes, stopping the sound. "Now, does the music still exist?" Mandar frowned. "The flute has stopped, so the music is gone." Abhinavagupta smiled. "The flute does not create the music, my child. The melody already exists in the mind of the musician. The flute only serves as an instrument to express it." He placed his hand on Mandar's shoulder and said, "Your brain is like this flute. It does not create thought. It only channels the vast intelligence of consciousness into a limited form. The true source of thought, like music, exists beyond the instrument." Mandar, still deep in thought, asked, "But Guruji, if thoughts are beyond the brain, then where do they come from?" Abhinavagupta closed his eyes and said, "From the self, the infinite awareness that watches even as thoughts come and go." He then asked Mandar, "Tell me, do you remember your dream from last night?" Mandar nodded. "Yes, Guruji, I do." "Who witnessed that dream?" "Your body was asleep, your brain was at rest, yet something within you remembers the experience." "Who is that witness?" Mandar remained silent, his mind opening to a higher realization. "That, my child, is the true self, the Atman. Thoughts arise, pass through the brain, and disappear, but the one who watches them remains unchanged. The self is not the thinker of thoughts, it is the eternal observer, untouched and infinite. Mandar fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the profound simplicity of the truth. Guruji, I see now. Thought is not bound by the brain, just as the moon is not bound by the water. Consciousness is the musician, the brain is only the flute. The true self is the witness, beyond thought, beyond mind. Abhinavagupta smiled, his eyes radiating divine bliss. Yes, my child. Realize this truth, and you will be free. Thought is fleeting, the self is eternal. Do not identify with the waves, become the ocean. From that day on, Mandar no longer searched for truth in the mind, but in the silence beyond it. Moral of the story, the brain is not the source of thought. It is only a reflector, like a mirror or a pond. Just as music exists before it is played on a flute, thoughts exist beyond the brain. There is an eternal witness beyond all thoughts, the self, which remains untouched by the mind's fluctuations. Realizing that you are not your thoughts but their observer leads to true liberation. Thoughts are like waves on the ocean of consciousness, ephemeral and passing, but the ocean remains unchanged. Om Namah Shivaya.